Hi there, welcome to another class with me, Anne. Today our focus will be on the neck. It's a full, well-rounded practice, but we're going to think about things that we do to our neck and how we can check our alignment. Most of us walk around with our chins jutting forward. I know this seems exaggerated, but that affects a lot of our body. And a lot of times when we have a pain in the neck, it can be from something else, our feet, our knees, our back. So everything's connected. So you may have something going on the rest of your body that's affecting your neck, or something going on your neck that affects something else in another part of your body. Remember to always honor your body today and every time you practice yoga, and just really that's a basic thing to think about in life, right? Honor yourself where you are today in this moment. The props that you'll need today, for sure, either a blanket or a towel that can fold and roll easily. If you have a strap, I recommend a strap. If you don't have a strap, a necktie or the belt from your robe. And if you don't have that, we can work around it, but it'll make the pose more accessible if you do have something to hold on to. A scarf can work as well. And then if you have a block or two blocks, get your blocks. It's okay if you don't, we'll work around it. We're doing one low lunge today, and that's where the blocks can be handy. So a stool could work, a piece of furniture, something like that as well. I'm gonna move back and get started. Today, you're welcome to start seated or lying down, and really you're always welcome to do that. Know that we'll do our breath and meditation, and then we're gonna come up and set up for a pose. So we won't be doing a whole lot of, well, we will be doing something lying down, but we have to come up and set up for it. So you can decide if you really need a few moments to lie down, then you lie down, and if you'd rather be seated, then you be seated. I'm gonna move back and get set up. I'm gonna stay seated just because it's a little easier, but don't take ease over what your body actually needs. If you are gonna be seated, make sure that you're sitting at the edge of your folded blanket so that you can sit tall, you can sit well. So whether you're seated or lying down, take a moment to make any adjustments. You can close your eyes or soften your gaze. And it might be a little easier to come into more of alignment lying down than seated, but you might notice more seated. So kind of start with, if you're seated, where your sit bones are connected to your mat. Same thing lying down, but you also have the connection of your feet, the soles of your feet on your mat. And then it's much easier lying down to kind of notice where your shoulders are set. But you still, if you're out of alignment, you might notice you feel a little wonky. And sometimes when we're in alignment, we feel wonky because it's not what we're used to. So wherever you are, adjust your shoulders and then check in with your head and your neck. So likely just a slight tuck of your chin. So don't bring your chin all the way down. It's just to bring your chin more parallel to the floor if you're seated. And then think about the base of your skull. So if you're lying down, the base of your skull is pressing into your mat or your blanket. And if you're seated, imagine you have a blanket behind your head or a pillow, and you're pressing the base of your skull into that. You might feel like your head's leaning back more than normal, and it likely is, but that's bringing you more into alignment. We'll just take a few moments here in silence. Start to connect with the movement of your breath in your body. And start to deepen your breath. Make little movements, fingers, toes. Whether you're lying down or seated, start to move your chin to one side, looking over one shoulder, and then turn to look over the other side. And if that feels good, you want to do it a couple more times, feel free. If some other movement would feel good for your body, a stretch, hugging your knees in if you're lying down, taking a quick little twist, seated or lying down. And if you're lying down, slowly make your way up to seated. So we're gonna do the heart opener, or a heart opener, over the roll, one of my favorite poses. So you wanna have your blanket or your towel basically in this position. Everybody's different. Some of you have done the heart opener a lot, so you already know where your roll should be, how big it should be. But also note that every day is different, right? There's some days where my back is really bothering me and a smaller roll is more appropriate. Some days I have the accessibility to lie over a bigger roll. So always be mindful of that, even if you typically have it a certain way, it may not be today. So I know for myself, rolling this blanket about halfway is what is typically accessible for me and my body. So you just roll from the short end and about halfway. And what's nice with this is that I have a little bit of padding under my head. For some of you, if you want a really big roll, you might need to have another blanket to put under your head, or if you happen to have a block, you want to keep your neck free, so keep that in mind. This is probably pretty good for me today. And then you'll come to lie on one side, so you're going to kind of lie over the roll with your armpit right on top of the roll. And then you'll start to bring the lower tips of your shoulder blades onto your roll. You might have to adjust a little bit, and I usually like to hold my head and elongate my neck as I start to bring the base of my skull down. Your arms should easily come above the roll. It doesn't mean they have to stay there, but that gives you a general idea of good alignment. So it's the lower tips of your shoulder blades, not the upper part of your shoulder blades. And then you're allowed to open here. So this is where our back bend should come from. Your knees can stay bent or extend your legs out long. My teacher Richard in Oakland believed that this is the root of our neck. This is really where our neck starts. So I like that idea of thinking about it much deeper than just right at your cervical spine, right on top of your shoulders. It's intense. Physically, could be emotionally because you're opening your heart, you're vulnerable. Physically, because we're typically not in this position, we're more in a hunched forward position than open. So if you need to come out early, you come out early. If you do need support under your head, make sure it's at the base of your skull and you keep your neck free. Even if it's intense, see if you can breathe through it. And if it's just too much, then adjust or come out. Deepen your breath. If your legs are out long, bend your knees, bring your feet back to your mat. Make your way over to one side. Take a moment here, lying on your side. As you bring yourself up, see if you can bring your head and neck up last. It's difficult to do. You've got to use more strength in your hands and arms. You don't want to yank your head up for a variety of reasons. But we also use our head and neck a lot when we don't need to. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, just take a moment seated. Make sure you're sitting well. I'm not at the moment, so I'll adjust if that means sitting on a blanket. We're just here for a moment just to check in, to notice what's changed, what feels different. Notice if your mood feels different. The heart opener, it really gives you what you need in the moment. It's a beautiful pose. It's something that you can practice regularly. You don't have to have any fancy yoga props. It's great to do before bed. It's great to do waking up. We were in it probably a couple of minutes. I'd say 5 minutes is ideal. Of course, you could stay in it longer, and of course, shorter. You do what's best for you. We're gonna make our way onto all fours in a tabletop. If you want padding, get your blanket. I don't typically need padding, so I'm gonna set mine aside. But if you do need it, put it in the middle of your mat and come on to all fours. As we set up, we check in that our knees are below our hips. And we start with our wrists under our shoulders. And then I like to give you some opportunity to move around because this 90-degree angle on our wrist can be really intense depending on what's going on in our body, and with so many of us working at computers regularly. So you might find that you need to have your hands more forward, wider. So find the best spot for you. If none of those options are good for you, you can come onto forearms with your elbows under your shoulders. If you have blocks, that's more ideal on the medium height because it brings you almost in the same position if you were on your hands. But if you don't have them, then you make that adjustment. We're going to move with our breath here to cat and cow. And so when we move, we start the movement in the pelvis, and we end with the head and neck. But notice how you move, so I'll just kind of let you work through that. When you exhale, you start to tilt your tail, round your back, and your head and neck follow. And then when you inhale, lift your tail up, let your spine follow, your heart open, and your head and neck follow. So typically in this pose, I see a lot of people going back and forth with their head. So see if you can have more control, move with more intention. And if you feel like that can't happen with your head and neck, try your cat and cow without moving your head. Keep your neck neutral. So you keep that little bit of tuck and pressing your base of your skull up toward the ceiling. You won't move as much, but just notice how that feels. So sometimes I challenge myself to do that because even though I know I shouldn't be flinging my head and neck around, it happens a lot. They always want to lead, and a lot of times they just need to follow. So finish the round you're in and come back into a neutral tabletop. So keeping your neck long on all four sides. So notice a lot of times people want to jut their chin forward. They think that this is doing something for the body, and you can hear my voice change. So notice as I start to tuck my chin slightly and press my base of my skull up toward the ceiling. And it actually helps to activate my arms too. It makes this a little more intense. Step your hands, one hand print forward, and come into downward facing dog. If it's better for you to stay in tabletop or puppy pose, if you know that, you're welcome to do that. Curl your toes under, lift your knees up, press your butt, hip, and thighs away. You're welcome to bend your knees, pedal your feet. Check in with your head and neck. So your ears should be between your upper arms. Your gaze is at your feet. If your gaze is at your knees, you're dropping your head, and if it's at the middle of your mat, you're holding your head up. And for sure, if you're looking at your hands, even way too high. So sometimes it's just a matter of giving your head a little shake. And then bring your knees down to your mat. I'm going to turn so that you can see me better as we set up for a lunge. So if you have blocks, this is where blocks are good. Coming into your tabletop and then stepping your right foot forward. If you don't have blocks or something to use, you can have your hands on your thigh. And even if your blocks are too far away, you're welcome to have your hands on your thigh. Make sure that your knee is right over your ankle, not forward of it. And then even thinking about your spine. So whether you're more forward because you're lower down or higher up, our spine is really long and tall. And then our head sits nicely on top of our neck that floats right above our shoulders. Step your right foot back, step your left foot forward. Setting yourself up, check your alignment. You may need different support on this side. Step your foot back. We're going to come back into a downward facing dog. So start in your tabletop, step your hands forward. Press through all of your fingers, your knuckles, your palms, the top and the bottom to come up into your downward facing dog. So you want a long spine here. lifting your sit bones up toward the ceiling, pressing your thighs toward whatever is behind you. You can stay right here. You can come to tabletop. You can come into a variation of plank pose. So you can come to your forearms or your knees. You want to make sure there's no sagging. So you've got to lift your belly up toward your spine. Spread your shoulder blades wide. Check in with your head and neck. So we like to hold it up or drop it. So see if you can have it nice and long, pressing the base of your skull toward the ceiling. Breathing, pressing your heels away. Bring your knees down and come all the way down onto your belly. So you can stack your palms and rest your forehead, your chin, your cheek on your hands. This is Makarasana, crocodile pose. You're welcome to stay here. This is a good resting place as well. Instead of doing child's pose, you can always stay here. If your back and neck feel okay and you feel like you have room to come into a little bit of a bigger back bend, you'll bring your hands under your shoulders, elbows close to your sides. Start with your forehead or chin on the mat. I don't have mine on the mat so that you can hear me, but I have my neck long and pressing through the base of my skull. My toes are not curled under, pressing my toenails in the mat, my knees into the mat. Lift your belly up toward your spine, bring your shoulders about an inch toward your ears and then up toward the ceiling, and then peel your chest up off the mat. You could come up like 1 inch here. Make sure your chin's not jutting forward. A slight tuck and a press of the base of your skull toward the ceiling. On your next exhale, come down. Rest for a moment on your cheek, or you can stack your palms. If you'd like to wiggle out your hips or do a little windshield wipering, that can be nice in between. You can stay here. If you have room to do another baby back bend here, set yourself up at the foundation of your feet and your knees, the lift of your belly, bringing your shoulder blades down onto your rib cage. On your inhale, peel up, keeping your neck long. You could come higher. The only difference is your arms start to go towards straight. Make sure that your shoulders don't come up to your ears, so you've got to keep those shoulder blades down onto the rib cage. You don't have to come that high. It can be really intense for the low back. Next exhale, come on down. Whew. Again, you can wiggle out your hips or do some windshield wipering. You're going to set up for downward facing dog again. If that's not okay, then you set up for a pose that's appropriate for you. We won't be here very long. It's more of a transition. But even though we're only here for a breath or two, you still want to check your setup, make sure your spine's long, your neck's in a good, safe spot. And then we'll come into Uttanasana, standing forward fold. You can walk your hands to your feet to your hands, or a combination of the two. I like to do a little bit of both. If you have blocks and they're easily available, you can have your hands on your blocks. If you don't, your hands can touch the mat, but not if you're like rounding in a weird position. Use your body. You could be in a half fold. You want your spine to be as long as it can be. You also have the option to bend your knees and bring your forearms to your thighs. My spine is really long, my neck is nice and long. My body is safe here. And then bring your hands to your hips. You're going to elongate from your belly to help lift up to come up into standing. I'm going to move off my mat just so you can see me better. Starting in our Tadasana, our mountain pose. So start with your feet about hip distance apart, and then find if you need to be wider or closer together, but you want your roots of your body here to feel connected, to feel strong. And that helps with the lift of the belly, your open heart. Check in where your head and neck are. So this is where we could really check the plumb line if someone dropped a string down our side. You know, it'd start at the side of our head, through our ear, shoulder, hip, through your ankle. So we're not perfect and everybody's body is different. Well, we are perfect, right? You're perfect as you are. But everybody is a little bit different. Our alignments are all different because of things that have happened to our bodies, surgeries, injuries, just how our bodies were created. I have kyphosis, so I have curvature of the upper spine, and then I have lordosis with pretty big sway back. So I believe that because of that, my head and neck come more forward to help balance me out. And so I have to find that balance, that alignment, that connection with my feet. And that helps me and allows me to stand longer and taller. So come into your Tadasana. And have your arms wherever is comfortable for you. And then bring your hands on your shoulders. And we're gonna do some shoulder rolls here. If these are too intense, then you do regular shoulder rolls, but I like these because it uses more of the upper body. You're gonna really lead with your elbows, so bring them forward, up, around, back, and down, and keep making that movement. 2 more times. Notice your posture, where your neck is, where your chin is placed. And then we'll release if you want to give it a little shake. And then you're going to bring your right ear towards your right shoulder. So just a tilt. Don't bring your shoulder up or do any weird leaning. It's just a tilt. And then the opposite side of your neck is getting the stretch. We talk a lot about breath in yoga, about belly breathing, how sometimes we breathe too much in our chest. We can also really focus our breath on our neck muscles, which isn't great. But think about that a little bit. I mean, you want that full breath with your belly, your ribs, your chest, and then imagine that some of your breath can reach into your neck muscles. And then bring your head back up, and we'll tilt to the other side, bring your left ear toward your left shoulder. Feel your breath flowing in your neck. Even if you really can't imagine it's there, it's helping you to release. So when something's really tight, we may grip on, but how can we let go a little? So we can imagine the breath there, allowing us to let go just a little bit to help release. Bring your head back up. We'll go back to the first side. I'm gonna move over just because I know what we're gonna do next, and my hand might crash into my, totally blanking on the name of that right now. Doesn't matter. All right, bring your right ear to your right shoulder, screen. And then you're gonna lift your left arm up, if that's okay. If this is enough without the arm, then you just have your tilt. And then check in here, and you're gonna press through your palm. And that's a lot, so check in, notice your breath, finding comfort in the discomfort. And slowly start to bring your arm down by your side. Bring your head back up. I'm gonna move to the other side, just give me room for my arm. Tilt your head, your ear toward your left shoulder. And then if it's okay, you'll reach your arm up, no higher than shoulder height, but it doesn't quite need to be that high. Press through your palm, check in with your posture, your breath. Slowly start to lower that arm down. Once it's down, bring your head back up. If you need to do a little bobblehead, feel free. And then you're gonna turn your chin to look over your right shoulder. So like we were doing earlier, seated or lying down, and come back to center and turn to look over your other shoulder. And come back down, or come back to the center, and one more time each side. And back to center. Awesome. All right, we're gonna go back to that tilt. So tilt your right ear to your right shoulder. And again, if this is enough, stay here. If you feel like you have room to explore, you're gonna keep the tilt as you start to move your chin down toward your collarbones. And then you're gonna lift up toward the ceiling. It's a subtle, small movement. You'll go back and forth. You might find a spot that is your sweet spot, the more intense spot, and maybe you wanna stay there and just have micro movements. Breathing. If you can't pick a spot, you could keep moving, or just pick one. They're all intense. And then come back up, maybe a little bobblehead before we go to the other side. This is my much tighter side. Check in if you're okay. We'll start to make that movement, bringing your chin down toward your collarbones, and then lifting up while keeping the tilt of your left ear toward your left shoulder. If you find a spot you want to focus on, stay there, make micro movements, breathe. And bring your head back up, a little bobblehead. If you have a strap or a strap-like item, get that. If you don't, you can do without. Just this pose is more accessible if you have a strap, and really depending on your body. So this is basically gonna make our arms longer. So take your strap or strap-like item and put it over your right shoulder. And if you don't have it, it's fine, I'll talk you through without it. You're gonna inhale your right arm up, On your exhale, your left hand's gonna help turn. So I'm lowering my hand just so you can see. I'm turning my palm to face away. And then you're gonna bend your elbow and your hand will touch wherever it will touch. I'm gonna turn so that you can see the back of me. I'm mirroring, so it'll be a little confusing. So then you wanna help to lift your elbow up toward the ceiling. You're gonna bring your other arm out, palm facing away, bend your elbow and bring that to the small of your back. So you can see here, my fingers are not gonna be able to touch, so I use the strap. If you don't have a strap, you could just have your hands as they are. You could hold on to your shirt. I wanna make sure I don't pull my hair. You also wanna make sure that this elbow doesn't press into your head and neck. So if you need to move it more out to the side, you do. Keeping your spine long, making sure your chin's not jutting forward, your head and neck aren't pressed forward, and our Gomukhasana arms. This one's an intense one. Release your top arm, your bottom arm, give it a shake. Move the strap to the other side. Inhale your left arm up, exhale, turn in your shoulder socket, palm facing away as you bend your elbow. It'll touch wherever it does. Help your elbow to get taller. I'm gonna come closer again so that you can see my back body. Extend your right arm out, palm facing away from you. Bend your elbow, bring it to the small of your back. You could stay here and have that lift of your elbow. You can always just do the top part. Maybe you hold on your strap or your shirt, or my fingers can barely reach on this side. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, it doesn't matter. Check in with the alignment of your spine, your neck, your chin, your head. Release, give it a good shake. Set your strap aside. Take a drink of water. Come back to downward facing dog. If you've had enough dog, stay in your tabletop or come to child's pose. Checking with your head, your neck, your spine, your gaze. And bring your knees down. We're going to come into a child's pose. So if your head doesn't easily reach, you can stack your palms, your fists. If you have a block or a blanket, you can use that. Even if your head easily reaches and if you have a block, it can be nice to use the block for what we're gonna do. If this is not okay, then you don't do it, you just keep your head still. But I like to have the block so that it's right above my eyebrows. And then I rotate my head side to side. I just have my arms move so that you can see my head better. If that's too much, you don't have to do it. It's still nice, even if you're doing it on your mat or a blanket or your hands. Come back to stillness. Come back into a tabletop. From here, take a moment and decide how you'd like to come up to standing. If you just want to stand up, then you stand up. If you want to do a downward dog for a moment, and then step your feet up or your hands back or both, and come up to standing, you can. All right, come to the top of your mat. Coming into that Tadasana, that nice alignment. You're gonna put a little bit more weight into your right foot and leg as you step your left foot back. So I like to have my hands on my hips. You want your back foot to be all the way on the mat. So we're not in a lunge here. Your heel is on the mat. If you step too far, step closer, step wider. This is balance, so you may find that having your feet wider is gonna help. You bend your knee, not going past your heel or ankle. You bring your mid-ribs to turn in the same direction as your front foot. Then you're gonna bring your hands behind your back and interlace your fingers. And if it's not okay to interlace, then you just reach. If it's okay, you're gonna start to lift your arms off your back, opening your heart. So don't dump your head back. Think about that slight tuck of your chin, the press of your skull, and the opening of your chest. And a modified warrior one. Release your arms. You can have your hands at your hips, cactus arms, or regular Warrior One arms. Bring your arms down, hands at your hips, step your back foot forward, back to Tadasana, mountain pose. You can start with your hands on your hips if you'd like. Ground through your left foot and leg as you start to step your right foot back. Adjust your stance, like notice, well, that's too far, too close. Your toes are well turned in. So if you have your foot more out, it's more like a warrior two, and you can't turn your upper belly and chest, and then that's when you start to crane your back. So that's why having it shorter is okay. If you're really having a hard time pressing down your heel, you can use your blanket under your heel to have something to press into. So turn your upper belly and chest toward what is forward for you right now. Bending your knee, keeping it in good alignment. So really pressing to help the lift. Check in with your alignment, your chin. So I have to bring mine back a little bit to be longer and taller. So I'm also going to be mindful of the sway back. So we just do our best to lift. And you bring your arms behind your back. So this time we're going to interlace your other interlace, your non-habitual. So this is my habitual interlace, and this is my non-habitual interlace. We got to do it behind your back. So you do the one that feels normal, and then you do the one that doesn't feel normal. And it's okay if you can't get it. You just do your best. It's going to change the heart opener for sure. You can just extend your arms if that's best for you. Opening your chest, keeping your neck in good alignment, lifting, breathing. Release, give it a shake. Hands can be at your hips, cactus arms, hands at heart, or reaching up in traditional warrior one. Bring your arms down, hands at your hips, step your back foot forward. Awesome. All right, one more standing pose and then we'll come back down to the mat. I came off my mat just so you can see me better. You can stay on your mat. So we talked earlier about grounding through the feet, the roots. So we really need that. We need that all the time, but we really need it when we're only standing on one leg. You can be by a wall or a piece of furniture if you need some support. Gonna shift our weight to our right foot and leg as we bend our left knee. And you could just work here, right? This is plenty of balance. Maybe just keeping your toe on the mat. Or you bring your left foot to cross over your right leg. So you could stay right here. This is a nice anchor, it's balanced. You could pick your foot up. You could wrap your foot around your standing leg, but you can't go wonky here in your hips. They've got to be square forward. So that might mean that you change where your foot goes. And then you're going to extend your arms out in front of your chest. Your right foot is on bottom, so your right arm goes on top. First, give yourself a hug. This is modified eagle arms and completely appropriate here. If you have it in you, if it's accessible in your arms and shoulders, you can bring your arms up. You can bring your palms to touch or back of palms. Wherever you are, lift your elbows up to shoulder height and press forward. So you're widening your upper back. And then think about your collarbones, that they're reaching wide. So we don't want to feel concave. We want to be as open as we can here, while still breathing, while balancing. Release your arms, release your legs, and give it a shake. Awesome. All right, back to Tadasana. Lean weight over to the left foot and leg as you bend your right knee and bring that foot over. It's different on this side, so check in, give yourself time to find the best spot for you, keeping your hips square forward, locking your gaze, keep your breath flowing. Extend your arms out in front of your chest. Your left foot is on bottom, the left arm goes on top. Come into modified eagle arms even if you know that you're going to move on to something else. Then you can move on, whether backs of palms together, fronts of palms. We're staying here. Lift your elbows up, shoulder height, and then press forward. Keep your spine long. So if you have your arms up, it's a little harder to lock your gaze, but just do your best. Release your arms, release your legs. Take flight like the gorgeous, beautiful eagle that you are. Give it a good shake. Awesome. Going to come back down to the mat. So normally for seated poses, I like to sit on something. For this, we won't, but if you want to have something ready, you can. Need another sip of water. So you're going to sit right on your mat. Have your knees bent and your feet on your mat. Starting with your hands on your shins, or if it's more comfortable to have your hands behind your knees. So you don't want to start rounding as we come into this. So we'll go slowly. Come onto the big toe of one foot and the other. And that might be enough. You're using your core here. Maybe you pick up a foot and set it down. Other foot, set it down. Maybe both. So you can lean back, but you want to stay long. Check in with your chin, your neck. This might be good here. Or you release your arms, palms up, keep breathing. Keep that length, the heart open, the neck in alignment. Maybe you want to work your legs towards straight. Whew. Keep breathing, length. Maybe you want to be a beautiful sparkle boat and sparkle your fingers and toes, and then bring your feet down and give yourself a hug. All right. Get your blanket to sit on. Bring the soles of your feet together and your knees out wide. So you can have your feet apart. You can have your feet farther forward. You don't have to do the most intense opener here. Ground through your sit bones in your mat or your blanket or towel. Feel the lift. Check in with your chin, your head, your neck, the base of your skull. We're going to come into a forward fold here. So this is all going to stay exactly as it is. You're just going to hinge at your hip creases. So that might mean you stay right here. If you start to feel yourself rounding or jutting your chin forward, come back up. Inhale tall, exhale hinge. Hands can stay on your feet, anywhere on your legs, maybe on your mat. There's a slight firm press between your feet if your feet are together. Slowly start to come back up. Bring your hands on the outside of your knees to close them like a book. You can extend your legs out long and do some windshield wipering. You could bend your knees and bring them wide to do a little windshield wipering. And then we'll make our way onto our backs. So support under your head is nice. Come to lie down in constructive rest with your knees bent, your feet on your mat. Then step your feet as wide as your mat. We're going to move to our breath. Inhale, your knees tall. Exhale, move your knees over to one side. When you inhale, they come back up. And when you exhale, they go to the other side. So move a few more times, and then we'll hold each side for a few rounds of breath. The next time you're over to the right, you'll hold it. The next time you inhale, lift your knees back up, and you'll exhale over to the left or the other side. The next time you inhale, lift up. Fully exhale. Bring your feet back to constructive rest and just take a moment here to pause. Then from here, you're going to set up for Shavasana, final relaxation pose. For my videos, we do about 2 minutes, give or take. I'm not timing it. If you'd like to do longer, and I recommend 5, 10, 15 minutes, you can pause. You can set the timer on your phone and set up for a longer Shavasana. Any Shavasana is better than no Shavasana. The longer, the better. If you have extra support to put under your knees and extend your legs out long, that's nice. When I do a short Shavasana, I typically keep my knees bent. I widen my feet and allow my knees to support each other. This can be nice for low back stuff. So choose your setup for your Shavasana. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Connect with the movement of your breath in your body. Deepen your breath. Little movements in your body. You want to move your head and neck side to side. Going to move on to bigger movements. You're welcome to a stretch or hugging your knees into your chest or something else for these last few moments. When you're ready, you'll roll over onto one side in the fetal position. Take a breath or two here before you bring yourself up, and when you do bring yourself up, see if you can bring your head and neck up last. And back up into a seated position. So find your comfortable seat, sit well, sit tall, close your eyes or soften your gaze. Notice the length in your spine, how your neck is placed on top of your spine or your thoracic spine, how your chin is parallel to the floor with a slight tuck, and you're pressing the base of your skull into that imaginary pillow or blanket behind your head. Bring your hands together at heart center in Anjali Mudra. Keep peace in your mind, keep strength in your body, and keep love in your heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Be kind to your neck, the rest of your body. You can email me at therealgofitgirl@gmail.com. You can follow me on Facebook or Twitter at GoFitGirl and Instagram as The Real GoFitGirl. If you have any comments or questions, you can do that below or connect with me in any of those other venues. Next Sunday, July 5th, I'm doing a donation-based yoga class. So it'll be via Zoom, it'll be live. So if you're used to taking these classes with me and want to come to a live session, you're welcome to. It's donation-based, so you pay what you can afford. So if you can't afford anything, you don't pay. And all the proceeds are going to go to Black Visions Collective. It's part of Black Lives Matter. So you can email me for more information to sign up. I can give you the information for donations as well. Have a great day. Hope to practice with you again soon. Thanks.